Did anything major happen this week on WWE? Hey guys, welcome to Rob's Wrestling Reviews. This is your review for Raw and Smackdown. And it is a big week for both Raw and Smackdown. Raw starts with Kurt Angle coming to the ring. He explains that Brock Lesnar is on his way. He has not made it to the arena yet, but he will be here later tonight. This brings out Roman Reigns, who happens to be in the crowd, who also happens to have a microphone ready. Don't know how that happens. Roman gets into the ring. He says he will not leave until Brock Lesnar shows up. He grabs the chair, sits in the middle of the ring. Kurt Angle says, I said, you're leaving me no choice. He goes to the back. The U.S. Marshals show up. Obviously, a few local wrestlers. They handcuff Roman Reigns. He starts to walk out, but then he decides, oh, I'm going to just beat these guys up. And from what I've heard, that is a Class 3 felony, which can lead to no fewer than 25 years in prison. But I digress. After he lays out the marshals, big shocker, all of a sudden, Brock Lesnar is in the building. Brock Lesnar's music hits to a gigantic pop, by the way. Comes to the ring to a completely defenseless Roman Reigns and just starts beating the ever-loving crap out of him. Throws him around, gives him a bunch of German suplexes, beats him with the steel chair that Roman had in the ring. Just keeps on beating on him and beating on him. Eventually hits an F5, starts to leave. They strap him up to a gurney. Brock Lesnar comes on back out, pushes over the gurney, then walks back out. Added fuel to the fire. Okay, I'm going to say this. I've given Roman Reigns a lot of shit the last few weeks, but the last few weeks his promos were actually really good, but this segment I didn't find very good. There's it's so it smacks so badly of them trying to force fans to come over to Roman's side that just seeing Brock Lesnar, who did his damnedest to play the dastardly heel, he beat up a guy in handcuffs. The fans wanted to cheer for Brock Lesnar through this entire segment. The commentary tried to put it over as one of the worst things anybody has ever done. Apparently, they forgot about Braun Strowman beating up Roman last year and flipping over ambulance. Next, Alexa Bliss and Mickie James are in the ring. Alexa Bliss starts delivering a promo where she says she's sorry about Nia Jax. She got caught saying something she shouldn't have, and then she turns around just like she always does, says she's sorry that she didn't say it sooner. Talks again about look at her and look at Nia, how she used Nia, which I do find funny that Mickie was standing right beside her, hearing Alexa talking about how she used the last person. Yet she's standing there like, oh, I'm her friend now. You don't see this coming? Like the last time you were her best friend? This brings out Asuka. Alexa Bliss and Asuka have their match that was set up last week. This was actually not the best match I've seen either person have. Alexa was a little sloppy tonight, but Asuka, to her credit, really sold a lot of her moves really well. But eventually, Asuka gets the upper hand. She gets an ankle lock onto Alexa for a good while, but Alexa's able to scamper to the ropes, gets a break, and Alexa gets out of the ring, lets herself be counted out. She's done. This brings out Nia Jax, who chases her to the back, where Alexa runs into Kurt and says, "You should suspend Nia or even have her arrested." And Kurt says, "I've had enough of arrests and suspensions for the time being." Said, "In fact, all you've been doing is being a bully." And Kurt tells her, "I'm putting you in a Raw Women's Championship match against Nia Jax at WrestleMania 34. So we do get the match we have been expecting. I'm actually looking forward to this match. Please tell me that they actually put the title on Nia and don't have a repeat of the Booker T Triple H situation from WrestleMania 19, where some of the most horrible things were said, and then the heel still ended up winning." Next, Braun Strowman makes his way to the ring, talks about how last week he won a tag team battle royal by himself, said if it was up to him, he would face the bar by himself. He believes he can easily take the bar by himself. Again, it does kind of cut the legs out of the rest of the tag division. I'm not fond of that, but I do like what they're doing with Braun, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. This brings out the Bar, who tell him a real tag team are two guys who they're on the road constantly. They ride together, they eat together, they train together, they sleep together, which got a really good laugh from the crowd. And then they go, "Oh, we mean roommate." Braun eventually tells them that he has two things to tell them. One, he will have a partner at WrestleMania. And two, he gets to have a match with one of them tonight. The Bar start to get into the ring together, like they're going to do the swerve that they did a few weeks ago against Titus Worldwide. But then out of nowhere, Sheamus runs out of the ring and leaves Cesaro kind of high and dry. Thought that was a little funny. This ends up actually being a pretty decent match. Cesaro still looked really good here, but eventually Braun took over. Power slam, 1, 2, 3, yada yada yada. It's a Braun Strowman match. Next we have the Revival versus Apollo and Titus. This was a match that was just kind of there. Neither team got entrances for this match. The match was pretty much started when they came back from commercial break. It was not very long. The Revival won pretty quickly with a shatter machine. Then Charlie Caruso comes in the ring to interview him, and they say they have announced themselves to be in under the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. They will be the first ever tag team to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I don't know how that works, since it's usually only one guy can win a Battle Royal, but they're not going to win it. So next we get probably one of the best things I've seen. A video package announcing Mark Henry getting into the Hall of Fame this year. Perfect choice. I've been saying Mark Henry's deserved to get in for a couple years now. He's kind of still been on the roster, but last year he quietly retired last year after last year's Mania. So I was expecting it this year. Well deserved. He's one of the most tenured guys in WWE. He came in very green from the very start and worked his way up to being a tremendous big guy wrestler. For a guy his size, he was a great performer. Just look at his fake out retirement speech again with John Cena a few years ago. That was a time where he had really come into his own. And a few years before that, with the Hall of Pain stuff, that alone, I think, is well deserving his Hall of Fame induction, but add in the stuff from the '90s and sexual chocolate stuff. He just he just kept going year after year after year. Uh, he was always a good hand, and well deserving. Can't can't I can't speak enough about Mark Henry deserving to be in the Hall of Fame this year. Next, Bayley makes her way to the ring for her tag match with Sasha Banks against Absolution. Sasha Banks comes out and they have a really good promo here. Sasha keeps asking her, why do you have you been walking out on me? Is it because I kicked you down at Elimination Chamber? It was every woman for themselves. And Bayley says it wasn't the kick. It wasn't that she kicked her down or anything. It was the look on Sasha's face after she did it. And I thought that was something really good. Bayley said she could not get that out of her mind. So she is still very upset with Sasha and doesn't know if she'll ever be able to forgive her. This leads into their match against Absolution. The miscommunication between the two and the arguments between the two ended up costing them, as Bayley ended up getting pinned by Sonya Deville. Next, John Cena makes his way to the ring and once again talks about how he wants Undertaker at WrestleMania, and this time he full on goes ahead and calls Undertaker a coward for not showing up this week. It's a disservice to the fans, which I do find weird. I think everybody pretty much thought that he retired last year. It's not disrespectful. It's a guy who's has way more respect than you do, John Cena. For all intents and purposes, gave up his career. He's done. So you calling out a guy who wanted to retire, that's on you, not on him. This brings out Kane. He kind of John Cena's jumping up for joy. Oh, is this the answer I've been wanting? This leads to Kane chokeslamming John Cena. They will have a match next week. Next, The Miz and the Miztourage are in the ring. Miz again talks about how he gets absolutely no respect. He pulls up the brochure for WrestleMania this year that he's nowhere on the cover. This leads to a six-man tag between the Miztourage and Finn Balor and the Balor Club. This was a really good match here. Seth Rollins is on commentary for this match. Miscommunication between the Miz and Axel backfires. They kind of collide against each other. This leads to Finn Balor rolling up Miz. He gets the 1, 2, 3. Next, we have a vignette with Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. This is a really good package here. Ronda Rousey actually talked about alluded to her 2 losses in UFC. Talked about how when she went to the Olympics, she came back with a medal, and she was living in her car after that. She said at least if she talk shit and break people's arms, then she could at least feed her dog. I thought this was good. She alluded to her 2 defeats in UFC. Talked about how low she was at that point. Talked about her husband, Travis Brown. But she really seemed humble here. I did like that. I like that she's not constantly just the killer badass. They are showing her as a human. And finally, we get to the ultimate deletion. I have to say this beforehand. Screw you, Michael Cole. Michael Cole went out of his way to try to bury this match before it even happened. And it backfired, because this was a fantastic match. It was everything everybody wanted it to be. From the beginning to the creepy piano rendition of Bray Wyatt's music, Uh, the boomstick protocol, that was fantastic. Uh, the leading to the dilapidated city, I thought that was fantastic when it turned out to be Bray Wyatt's old cottage. I thought that was great. Uh, Trying to decide whether to use the chair of wheels or the mower of lawn, that was hilarious. Uh, the ending was fantastic with Bray flipping over Skarsgård where he thought Matt would be underneath, and it ended up being Senor Benjamin inflated who throws an inflated globe at him, and Bray catches it and is holding it in his hands, and he starts saying, Senor Benjamin starts saying he's got the whole world in his hands. Then Brother Nero comes in, Jeff Hardy comes in from behind him and sings again, he's got the whole world in his hands. Bray turns around, eats of Twist of Fate, 1, 2, 3. Matt Hardy wins the match. But Bray is saying, the war isn't over. Matt says yes it is, and he pushes Bray Wyatt into the lake of reincarnation to where he just disappears. Matt Hardy tells Senor Benjamin to fish him out, and he says he's not there, he's not here. He says, wonderful, he's been deleted. I don't know where this leads with Bray Wyatt. I don't know if they're doing a reboot to the character. I don't know if he's going to come back out as Husky Harris. I don't know. But I'm actually intrigued. This is probably the best match Bray Wyatt has had in over a year. This match was a great Bray Wyatt match and an even better Matt Hardy match. Now on to SmackDown. Before we get into this part of the review, have to talk about finding out that Daniel Bryan has been cleared. Probably the best news I've heard in a long time. We know Daniel Bryan has been trying to convince the doctors to let him come back for over a year now. And I'm so glad that the doctors have finally cleared him. We'll see later in this review. He's proved he's good to go. With that said, on to the review. SmackDown starts with Daniel Bryan coming to the ring. Talks about how a little over 2 years ago, he was forced to retire due to concussions, and he was always grateful, no matter how depressed he was or angry he was always grateful. He said Bree told him that it's nice that you're grateful, but you need to fight this. This is what you've been wanting. You've wanted this your entire life. You have to fight for it. I'm glad to hear that. I know people kind of give the Bellas shit, but I really don't get that, because when they started, they weren't very good wrestlers. They've proved they're decent in the ring now, so it's not that. Never mind. He goes on to talk about how he's been cleared, and how he's thankful for everyone. He doesn't know when he will be able to return. This leads everybody to start chanting WrestleMania, because I'm sure everyone agrees he should definitely be returning at WrestleMania this year. So he says Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are not here yet, but when they do get there, he will have to deal with their actions from last week. Next, we have a rematch from Fastlane with Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Rusev. Another good match between the two. Probably not as good as their match at Fastlane. But this was still a good match. It didn't end with a Kinshasa, but with a kind of a roll up instead out of the accolade into a roll up for a really cool pin. AJ Styles has been on the outside on commentary this whole time. Rusev and Aiden English started attacking Shinsuke Nakamura. AJ sitting on the outside, deciding whether he should. You can see that he's like deciding should he help Shinsuke or not. But eventually, Shinsuke does not need his help as he fights both of them off and ends up running them both off by himself. A little later, they run into each other, and Nakamura tells him, "I didn't need your help tonight. I showed that." And AJ says, "And let me guess, you're going to beat me at WrestleMania." Which I thought this was funny. Shinsuke says, I didn't know you were so insecure about yourself. I thought that was funny. But he says, I will beat you at WrestleMania. Next, we get a quick little segment with Charlotte and Natalya, where Natalya's telling Charlotte that she's going to lose her title to Asuka, even though she should have been in the match instead. Asuka should have stayed on Raw. Asuka cost her opportunity at WrestleMania, and Charlotte said, "Well, we can have a match tonight." This leads to a match later on. Next, we get a quick match between Baron Corbin and Ty Dillinger. There's not much to say about this. Standard squash. End of days. 1, 2, 3. Next, we get the aforementioned match between Charlotte and Natalya. This was, again, a good match. I've never seen a bad match between these two. This was no different. Great back and forth. Both of them take a tumble. They're on the mat when Carmella's music hits. She comes out carrying the briefcase, starts to hand it to the referee, but before the referee's able to get the bell to ring, Charlotte kicks Carmella in the face. This takes her out of the equation, but this leads to Natalya being able to roll up Charlotte for the 1, 2, 3. Next, the Usos make their way to the ring. Jay is going to take on Harper tonight. Jay talks about how the Bludgeon Brothers came in to disrupt their match between the New Day at Fastlane. They're not going to keep them out of WrestleMania this year. This leads to the match between Jay and Harper. This is a good match between these two. The Usos and Harper and Rowan have had a storied career. They've always had great matches. This is no different. But the just brute strength of Harper ends up being too much. Rowan gets a little bit of a distraction from the outside that leads to a discus clothesline from Harper, where he picks up the 1, 2, 3. Next, we have Jinder Mahal and Sunil Singh. Sunil Singh introduces Jinder Mahal as the next U.S. champion. This was confirmed earlier that we are getting the triple threat between Jinder Mahal, Bobby Roode, and Randy Orton, a match I'm not looking forward to, but we get what we get. This act ends up bringing out Bobby Roode and Randy Orton, who talk about how neither one respect Jinder Mahal at all. He does nothing but cheat his way to wins. This leads to Jinder Mahal kind of bailing on Sunil Singh. Sunil Singh ends up eating a glorious DDT. Then Bobby Roode turns around, goes to hit a DDT on the Randy Orton. Randy Orton gets out of it, goes to hit an RKO on Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode gets out of it, and they kind of just powder out while Jinder Mahal's smiling on the outside because he's stirring the pot a little bit more. Next, we get a match between Naomi and Becky Lynch taking on the Riot Squad of Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Pretty standard match here. Becky Lynch beats Sarah Logan with the disarmer. That's about it. Then finally, Daniel Bryan comes out after being told that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are there. He goes out, calls out Sami and Kevin. They come out all smiling and happy because their good friend Daniel Bryan has been cleared. Happy day for all of them. Talk about they've wanted this ever since they were back in the Indies together 14 years ago. Daniel Bryan says, you guys are two of my best friends. He said, but what you did last week, there has to be repercussions for it. You beat up your boss. You can't do that. As much as it pains him to say it, they are fired. So Daniel Bryan has fired Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. He goes to shake their hands. They shake their hands. They look like they're getting ready to go. Kevin Owens then bum rushes Daniel Bryan, leading to what everybody has been wanting all along. They start to beat down Daniel Bryan. He gets a really good comeback spots. Does his drop kicks. Starts to do his kicks. Starts to do his yes kicks. This does lead to Sami Zayn taking him down, and eventually the numbers game catches up, and he eats a haluva kick and takes the power bomb onto the apron. So Daniel Bryan took some really stiff bumps. It was really good I know we're supposed to hate what Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens did, but just seeing Daniel Bryan taking bumps, doing moves again, brought a huge smile to my face seeing this. Was a great cap off for the main roster WWE. Couldn't have come up with a better way from Raw with the ultimate deletion, and now with Daniel Bryan being cleared to wrestle on SmackDown. This was one of the best weeks on WWE in a very, very, very long time. I actually am very excited to see how everything goes from here on out, specifically leading to WrestleMania. Everything's really looking good now. Can't wait. Thanks for joining me. Like this video, subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching.